But Europe was set to explode. It was about to be dragged out of the Dark Ages and into the Renaissance.
The term means rebirth, and what the Renaissance is a period of time in which the classical tradition, antiquity, the works of antiquity, Aristotle, Plato, Galen in medicine, in the field of medicine, are rediscovered and are brought into the present. So one way of thinking about the Renaissance is that it's almost an attempt at recreating a vanished world. The other way in which we can understand the Renaissance is that it means looking forward. It's to say you look back to kind of gather together the past, but you use that as a springboard to start thinking about the future.
The Renaissance saw an electric marriage of art and science. By the 16th century, a new breed, Galileo, Da Vinci, Michelangelo, had hit center stage. Their enthusiastic reworking of classical philosophies, writings, and works of art would kickstart a scientific revolution with anatomy at the helm. But of all the stars of the Renaissance, one man would truly usher in a golden age for anatomy. In 1543, his extraordinary book hit the shelves.
This is a unique copy of a book which is, in many ways, an earthshaker. This is a very special edition. It's a beautiful hand-colored piece of work. It's a textbook of anatomy, but it's also an advertisement for a particular man. And this man, we can see here, Andreas Vesalius, the anatomist who could be said to have started the science of exploring and understanding the human body in a way in which is really truly modern.
Andreas Vesalius was born in Brussels in 1514. He was fated as the most skillful dissector of his time. At just 24, he set up his own anatomy school. At 26, he was given the chair of anatomy in Padua. But his genius shone when he pulled off one of the great double acts of the Renaissance. He teamed up with the studio of the artist Titian to record forever his legendary dissections in uncanny, almost photographic detail.
What we're looking at here is one of the earlier figures known as the muscle men. This is an extraordinary sequence of dissections. Each image takes you to a deeper level of the body's interior. They're poised in these agonized positions as though they're kind of sacrificial objects in some sense.
Truly a man of his century, he harnessed the very latest technology, the printing press, to get his work published all over Europe. But Vesalius was nothing without his raw material.
These images are really fascinating. Vesalius is taking us now into the brain itself. But there's something which might strike the modern observer, the modern onlooker, as being, again, rather odd and maybe even grotesque. And that's the fact that each of these figures, each of these faces is different. What that means is that these are actual individuals. This isn't an idealization. These are pictures of people who had come, if you like, to a very, very sticky end, and whom Vesalius had claimed from the execution platform, from the executioner's gibbet, and ended up being opened up for our, not just our edification, not just our education, but also for our delight.
The pages prove that anatomists like Vesalius had to have found a way to flout the 1 or 2 body a year limit set by the church. They had targeted the one group that could offer them religious respectability and ready access to criminal bodies. The arch-confraternities were secretive bands of Christian brothers which had sprung up all over Italy to minister to the poor, to the sick, and, conveniently, to those destined for execution. The brothers were lulled into performing another role, to ferry the corpses of executed men directly from the scaffold to the anatomist's table. It has always been assumed that the identities of those dissected bodies would never be known. But in Rome, one medical historian has unearthed an astonishing record.
Here you have the list of condemned people, the reason for which they was condemned, as well the place where they was executed.
So if you look at the list, and you go, for instance, to the name of Giovanni di Natale, we can find Giovanni di Natale from Friuli, hanged in Ponte. His body has been then dissected for 3 days publicly, and then was given back to the Arciconfraternita to be buried.
The men whose dead bodies have been the unwitting models for the anatomy books, paintings and sculptures of the Renaissance now have names. Frolio Dali was hanged for theft. Annibale Folano hanged for sodomy. Silvestro Pietrobello hanged for theft. In the Brotherhood, the anatomists and the church had found a perfect go-between. The anatomists got their corpse, the church a repentant soul and a good Christian burial. But winning over the church was only half the battle. If the anatomist were to win his hour of fame, he'd need to pull the public on board and play to their fascination for lurid spectacle. Vesalius's book was more than just a collection of drawings. It was an invitation to the greatest show on earth.
What we're looking at is a public dissection scene. Now what's important, what's really revolutionary about this book is the sense of crowd. There's a sense of performance going on. There's a sense of this being something to which people could flock for entertainment. Vesalius had a bit of a roadshow going. You know, he would go to these different places and his reputation would precede him. So he's depicting himself as a kind of circus master, surrounded by people who have come, as we might go to see a movie, say. They've come to see this newest and most spectacular of productions.
Vesalius and his contemporaries had hit upon the